Scott Adams. Oh my God. Talking about people who have been, he's currently, I guess, getting canceled right now. Let's bring up this article from the New York Post. Publisher scraps book from Dilbert creator Scott Adams after racist rant. Penguin Random House is dropping its plans to publish a book by Dilbert comic creator Scott Adams, marking the latest fallout over the cartoonist's recent alleged racist rant. Adams' Dilbert comic strip was dropped last week by hundreds of newspapers after the 65-year-old creator advised white people to get the fuck away from black people during his online show, Real Coffee with Scott Adams. Portfolio at Penguin Random House imprint said it is ditching its plans to publish the book titled Reframe Your Brain, according to a report from the Wall Street Journal late Monday. Adams confirmed to the journal that Portfolio won't be publishing Reframe Your Brain. Portfolio did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The move to cut ties with Adams comes after he reacted last week to a Rasmussen poll that said a small majority of Black Americans agreed with the statement. Maybe this is a typo. Said that a very small majority of Black Americans did agree with the statement. It's okay to be white. If nearly half of all Blacks are not okay with white people, that's a hate group, Adams said in a video, which was posted to his YouTube last Wednesday. I don't want to have anything to do with them, as I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from Black people. So this sounds bad when you read it in print. But if you go to his actual YouTube channel and listen to this, this part picks up at around 13:30, I think. I'm just going to play a little bit of it so you guys can hear it if you haven't heard this yet.
Well, Rasmussen poll had a provocative little poll today. They said, do you agree or disagree with the statement, it's okay to be white? That was an actual question. Rasmussen asked, white and black voters, and probably others, do you disagree or agree with the statement, it's okay to be white? 26% of blacks said no. It's not okay to be white. 21% weren't sure. Add them together, that is 47% of black respondents were not willing to say it's okay to be white.
And also, this is like pretty common. I feel like we see this. We've been seeing this idea for what feels like years now through different articles. Like, this seems like a really common topic of conversation and something I hear a lot of people just casually bring up. Like, it's like it's fun. Like, it's fun to make fun of white people. It's fun to like talk about how horrible they are, in TikToks and videos. It's like it went just from like our coleslaw is bad to like everything white people do is bad. So this is, but the way he puts it like that, when he actually adds the two groups together, the no's and the not sure's, and you go, oh wow, 46, that is almost half. But so far to me, I don't think he sounds hateful. I think he sounds just like upset and sort of resigned.
That's like a real poll. This just happened. Did you have any idea? Would you have imagined that could have happened? So I realized, as you know, I've been identifying as black for a while, years now.
Do you know if that's like he's saying that as a joke or he really was identifying?
I don't know. I don't know how to read Scott Adams a lot of times because
he's the Dilbert creator, so I would
does a lot of
guess
things
he has
to
a
stir
dry
the pot.
sense of humor. Okay.
Yeah, he does a lot of things.
Because I like to be on the winning team, and I like to help. And I always thought, well, if you help the black community, that's sort of the biggest lever. You can find the biggest benefit. So I thought, well, that's the hardest thing and the biggest benefit. So I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as black to just be on the team I was helping. But it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white, which is, of course, why I identified as black, so I could be on the winning team for a while. But I have to say, this is the first political poll that ever changed my activities. I don't know that that's ever happened before. Normally you see a poll, you just look at it, you go, whatever. Oh, this is interesting what other people think. But as of today, I'm going to re-identify as white because I don't want to be a member of a hate group. I'd accidentally joined a hate group. So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this.
How do you feel when you hear that? Because when I hear it, I go, to me, he has the tone almost of a man who has been like cheated on by their wife, like five. This is the fifth time they caught them. They're finally like, oh my God, like this person is never going to treat me well. Like I think I have to be done. I think like I'm going to lose my mind if I try to stay in this relationship. That's how his tone sounds to me. But when you listen to, like, of course, you read the words printed out, you're gonna be like, "Damn, he's telling white people to get away from black people," but he almost to me sounds like, I don't know what else we could do at this point, and it persists.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you were looking at it through a frame of just him saying that without the poll and without the other, he talks about the violence against white people by black people later on as well. And then if you view it without that context, then it sounds like, yeah, he's being hateful. But I agree with you. It's more like a resignation. He's more resigned and saying that, listen, if you're going to hate me, then I don't know what else to do about that. And this kind of, the only thing I don't like is the generalization. The idea that he says white people need to get away from black people, which is a collective identitarian kind of way of speaking, where you're saying that there's a group of white people and there's a group of black people,
Mm.
and we're going to separate those groups. It's segregationist kind of talk, and I don't like that because obviously I'm an individualist and I push for post-racial society, but so I don't like that part. But I do recognize that it's a natural consequence of a race-obsessed society, a race-obsessed ideology that's permeated our country. And now we have this environment where it's acceptable to hate white people, and you mentioned it already, but we have all these articles and all these think pieces and coming out and talking about how horrible white people are. You have videos of black people talking about how terrible, and saying the same thing Scott was saying, by the way, saying how terrible white people are and that black people need to have their own areas away from white people in order to be safe, or whatever it may be. And I've heard all kinds of black people say the
Yes, the
exact same
push to
thing.
only support Black-owned businesses no matter what
Right.
color you are, that's what we all need to focus our dollars on, and, yeah, it would've sounded better if he was like, "You need to get away from the people that are saying this," not just like,
Right.
"White people have to get away." It does sound overly generalized that way, I agree.
Yeah, because he's right. He's right. The people who believe those things are a hate group. That, by definition, that's, if they hate another group of people based on their race, they're a hate group. That's that's who they are. But it's not black people who are a hate group. That's the part where he misses it. It's a certain segment of people who happen to be black. And I think it's funny too that there's so much backlash to him, because again, he's saying the same things that these people are saying anyway. So why are they mad at him for saying it? That doesn't make sense. Like, what, like black people will come out and say, it's like, we
Yeah.
hate you and we don't want to be around you. And then Scott says,
Yeah.
okay, well, I don't want to be around you either. And there's like, oh, then it's the shocked Pikachu face, right?
Yes,
Like,
and it's
well, how
almost
dare
similar to,
you?
like, libs of TikTok is just holding up a mirror, just retweeting, just reposting, and then that gets liberals so upset, it's like, I'm just repeating back what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and
Right.
that's what Scott is doing, and
Yeah.
everyone's
How
like,
dare
"Oh,
you say what I say? That's
only we
not.
can say it." Yeah, and he's just saying, "I guess I need to get away from you guys if this is how you feel." I'm like, "Oh god, so hateful." So it's like,
Yeah.
you just have to be okay with the abuse, like, with the constant hate, you just have to suck it up, and he's just like,
Yeah.
"What?" And especially someone in his perspective, like, I understand because he's probably done really well for himself, and I wonder if he's thinking of moving to a more red area, or maybe he did just recently move, out of a blue, or he knows people that are moving out of blue cities into red areas, like, maybe that's where that's coming from, like, "Yeah, just move away, like, if you can, just go. Just go to where you're, loved, not merely just accepted." I'm
Yeah.
gonna play this through a little more.
This can't be fixed, right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population, because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density. And this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon when he notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America, because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like, I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans.
And he was called a racist before this rant. I mean, he's literally, this rant is coming out. They called him a racist after this rant came out, but it sounds like he was getting it even before.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're white.
And,
or are you gonna say something?
oh, you can go ahead, play it.
Okay.
Let's say it, man.
It's over. Don't even think it's worth
He
trying.
just feels
Totally not
over it.
trying. Now, we should be friendly. Like, I'm not saying start a war or do anything bad. Nothing like that. I'm just saying get away. Just get away. And here's my take on all of it. Everybody who focuses their priority on education does well. If anybody in the black community focuses on education, they'll do well as well, because the system allows that. If they don't,
oh, my internet. Come on. Come on, internet.
I can't make that my problem anymore. It just can't be my problem. It can't be my problem if the solution is so clear, so available, and people don't want to take it. It's just not my problem anymore. So I resigned. I resigned from the hate group called Black Americans. According to the Rasmussen poll, 46% of them don't think white people are okay, just being white.
It just sounds like he wants to, like, he's disengaging from the conversation. It's like, it's almost like I have to just, like, step away from the conversation, because I've been trying to, like, play by the rules, answer people, help people, participate in this, and it's like it sounds like he's saying every time I get fucked. So it's like I just feel like I can't participate in any of it anymore. Like, I don't know what to do. Everything I do is wrong. I get called a racist no matter what I do, and these people seem to hate me. He just seems like I have to check out.
And he's not wrong about that. I mean, one of the things I talk about in the book is the different methods that these people use to bully others and make them capitulate to the ideology. And one of them is the Kafka trap, which basically means you're guilty no matter what. Like, you're guilty if you admit guilt, and you're guilty if you deny guilt. So no matter what you say or no matter what you do, you end up being guilty of racism in this case. So yeah, he's right about that no matter what he does, and whether he's trying to help, I don't know how he was trying to help or how he thinks he was trying to help. But no matter what he does in his mind, he's going to be accused of racism. And that's true, because they believe racism is in everything and everywhere.
Right.
And
You
at
can't
all
not
times.
be.
So
no, he did
you can't
not
get
say
away
you
from it.
people yet, Davina. So that is a plus. And it would have been helpful if he was like, I went out of my way and hired a black assistant. I donated X amount to historically black colleges and universities. Like, I guess he could have, if he wanted to, gone out of his way and been like, here are all the ways I've actually, like, walked the walk and done the things society says you have to do to be a good white person. But
yeah.
just
Well,
didn't.
one of the things that I think is, well, I mean, kind of mentioned it already, but the biggest flaw in his reasoning is the generalization. When he talks about the different problems that exist in predominantly black communities, he's right about that, but it's not because those communities are black. It's because of the culture that exists there. It has nothing to do with race. And what people do a lot of times is they conflate race and culture. And I think that's probably the biggest problem, because race becomes a stand-in for culture. There are very terrible cultural problems that exist in inner cities like Chicago and Baltimore and Memphis and things like that. where the culture itself is driving the criminality and the violence and the terrible outcomes, the poor education systems. It's the culture. It's not race, because you take somebody out of that culture and you put them into a positive culture where they have an
Right.
internal locus of control and they value education and personal responsibility and things like that, and
Right.
they succeed and they're fine. And but you see, and it crosses racial lines. Like you see the same thing with white people. There's neighborhoods of of white people where I'm sure Scott would not want to live
Yeah.
because it's the same issue. It's a cultural problem. That's the problem. It's attaching race to culture, and I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of racial animosity that happens, and the poll kind of captures that, but it's a cultural issue, and I think that's what people need to focus on.
And what a shame that good culture and good habits are associated with being white or not cool or selling out. I mean, that's such a shame,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah, it's
ugh,
irritating. I
such
got
a
a lot of
trick.
that growing
It's
up. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like if you study, or if you don't sag your pants, or whatever, you're trying to be white. It's like, how do you speak properly with proper grammar? You're trying to be white. It's like, how is that?
Like,
It
how
makes
much
no sense.
really, you're not giving you're not giving yourself enough credit then, like, that's a horrible thing to say about yourself.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful, but it's a thing, and that's again, it's that those cultural attitudes and this sort of external locus of control that people have, that the system is going, they're oppressed, they're victimized, and the system is operating against them. And if you do anything outside of the cultural norms, then you're being a part of that system of oppression. And it's a very broken way of thinking that puts people in a negative feedback loop and keeps them in those circumstances, and it's awful.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more left here.
Right. And there we go. You didn't expect that today, did you? But the most helpful thing I can do is to say I'm not going to help. Do you understand that? Continuing to help in that sort of classic, oh, let me help you, give you a lift up, give you a hand, mentor you, hire you, prefer you. I'm going to stop all of that. I'm done with all of that. Yeah, no, it didn't work. The only thing that will work is to say you got to fix your own problem. You
Mm.
know how to do it.
You're right, he is conflating, like, the sort of cultural propaganda media stuff and,
Mhm.
like, the problems, like, in communities, but he's yeah. I wonder if he do you think he is trying to intentionally stir the pot? Do you think he had a feeling this would go viral and blow his shit up?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, because again, like during the COVID stuff, he would say things that were really off the wall, and then he would say the complete opposite later on and say, "Ha, gotcha. I bet you thought you don't know what I believe." So it's like he would do things like that. So I did wonder. I wonder if it was yeah, a very elaborate troll that he's doing here. Where he's trying to make a point, which I mean would be a very effective point, but it's obviously costing him quite a bit to make it. So I don't know. I mean, he's hard to read sometimes, but again,
Yeah.
like I said, it's not, the things that he's saying are not exactly wrong, other than the generalization. But the problems he's pointing out are, they're relevant and accurate, and people are more angry that he's just pointing at the problems and, like you said earlier, holding up a mirror to them and showing them what they're doing, and they're more angry about that than anything else. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
guess
he
we'll
does
find out.
seem, like, kind of sarcastic. Like, that's just in what little I've heard from him. I'm like, "Okay, he seems like he's a sarcastic guy. I wonder if this is the end of it, hopefully."
Everybody else figured it out. I'm not going to speculate, why you're not doing it. I'm not going to speculate why there's a difference. I'm just going to say it's available to everybody. You just pick it up. It's free money. Focus on education, and you could have a good life too. But those who don't want to focus on education, you just need to get away from them. Just get as much distance as you can. That's my recommendation. And I'm also really sick of seeing video after video of Black Americans beating up non-Black citizens. I realize it's anecdotal, and
Yeah,
it
he
doesn't
kinda
give me
goes
a
off about that. I just wonder if the algorithm does this on purpose to exactly for, like, this express purpose to piss off people and go I don't know. It's almost like it just feels like kind of planned. It feels like we're meant we it feels like for some reason we're meant to see a lot of these types of videos to is for the express purpose of like pissing off like basically people like Scott, or I mean, it would piss off anybody, but
Oh yeah, the violence videos, the fighting and the attacking. Like there's a video of a guy shooting a homeless person in
oh, I just saw that.
like where was that? I don't remember where it was, but
I think it was Philly.
yeah, I can't remember what city it was, but I mean it doesn't matter really. It's just like I wasn't expecting it to happen, and I was caught off guard. I don't want to watch things like that, but I mean that came across my timeline. So I think you're right. I think the algorithm, well, I mean, the algorithm is probably set up to, to respond to what people
Right.
are responding to, are reacting to. And, if it bleeds, it leads. It's that whole thing in the media, people are that's kind of, that's kind of morbid based on the example I gave. But, when people are more interested in the negative stuff and they're more apt to share negative stuff. And that's just kind of, I think that's more of a statement on our culture in our society than maybe the algorithm itself. So people are more looking for things to be offended by and more things to be angry about rather than looking for the positive stuff. Because there's that saying, whenever there's a catastrophe or something bad happens, look for the helpers. And the reason that's a saying is because a lot of times we tend to focus on the negative stuff, and that's kind of a human nature thing. It's just, it's one of the things we do. But yeah, there's something else that I talk about, and I'll talk about it really quickly. Is the availability heuristic. It's another psychological term, and what that basically means is that the easier to recall something, the easier it is to recall something, the more relevant you think it is, or the more common you think it is. So the experiment that was done was, ask people to think whether a certain list of words would have more letters that started with the letter K or more words that had K as the third letter. And people picked more words that started with K, even though there were twice as many words that had K as the third letter. It was just easier to think of words that started with the letter K. And so you can see how if the media is obvious, constantly reporting on something like unarmed Black people being shot by police, if that's the only thing that you ever see and they're constantly shoving that in your face, then you're going to think that it's happening frequently and all the time. And, it's like, this is a huge problem, and unarmed white people never get shot by police. And these are real things that people believe, even though twice as many unarmed white people are shot by police every year. And it's only it's not a significant number. It's like 20, 26, 25, something like that, compared to like 12 or 13 unarmed Black people. Whereas people think it's in the hundreds or sometimes even in the thousands or tens of thousands, which is just, and that's the availability heuristic. It's because people, it's more easily recalled. They see it in the media all the time. And so they think it's more common than what it is. So.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really, really good point. Just like what is repeated over and over is what gets remembered. But it's good to know that now the Dilbert 2023 day-to-day calendar is now a #1 bestseller on Amazon. I'm gonna buy the Dilbert day-to-day calendar. Why not?
I love it. That's funny. It's like that rule, because like people sometimes succeed even when, like, after they're canceled. Like being canceled helps them find a new level of success. Like they think that happened to Megyn Kelly. Like she got canceled and then she went off and did her own thing, and now she's doing great. So
yeah, Anthony Kumi was
sometimes
talking
it's the
about
best
this
thing.
the other day on his show, and he gets flack. People call him a racist all the time, but he's like, Scott Adams could do a racist Dilbert book. And he's like, you know what? I think half the country would buy it right now just to support him. Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all. Wow. You guys are awesome. Love you, get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.